Okay. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Azren, the language nerd here as always. Welcome to another weekly installment of Tuesday Talks with Azren. If you're new to these videos and haven't seen these before, it's pretty straightforward. This is a weekly video that I make every single Tuesday at 12 o'clock p.m. So 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Mountain Standard Time. That is the time zone we have here in Calgary, which is the city that I live in. And basically what happens is I answer some of the questions that people have about language learning. There's always one major topic that's kind of voted in, that people have voted on. And I always answer that question. And then, of course, if there's more questions in the chat in the second half of the video, I kind of answer those questions in the chat. So today's topic, the topic that was most popular for this week, that was voted in on, is how to maintain fluency in multiple languages, especially if you're someone who already speaks more than one, and maybe you are a polyglot. And that's the primary topic we'll cover off. Of course, I already see one question on Instagram. I think we'll get more as this video goes on, so I will answer other people's questions as we go. But we'll do that kind of in the second half. Okay. So let's talk about this. How do you maintain languages as a polyglot? Well, here's my experience. My personal experience is you have to find a way to integrate various languages into your day-to-day life. You have to figure out how to do that. So in my case, I teach basically all of the languages that I speak. I teach them. I run free drop-in classes every week, one class a week for French and Spanish and Mandarin and English. Actually, English, I don't personally run it. I have an employee who runs it. But I personally run English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, and Gujarati. So English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, and Gujarati, I'm teaching every single week. So I get to speak my languages basically every single day, which is a very effective method for me to maintain, to some extent, those languages. I think there's other ways you can incorporate languages into your day-to-day life. You don't have to necessarily teach various languages. You don't have to go about it in that fashion. I think if you're able to make some friends that speak a different language, that can be very, very useful as well, whether they're online friends, in-person friends. If you're lucky enough to live in a large city, you probably have events for language learners in your city. So if you live in a city such as New York or New York or San Francisco, heck, even Calgary where I live, if you live in Toronto, Taipei, if you live in Beijing, if you live in a kind of a large city, you're going to almost certainly have, oh, my phone vibrated. You're almost certainly going to have different events for language learners, pub nights, practice sessions. And so that's a really great way to make some friends and practice your languages in a casual way. I think that's a really effective method. I think paying attention to what you are watching on the internet and what you're doing on the internet. So watching movies in your target language, or perhaps reading things, blog posts and books in your target languages even, watching YouTube videos, following Instagrammers and Facebook pages in your target language, vloggers, making sure that your internet behavior incorporates the various languages that you're trying to maintain. I think that's a very effective method as well, because that integrates into your life. I think music is one way to maintain your foreign languages. Listen to music in your target language. Listen regularly. I do that. I like doing it. I think it's very enjoyable, very fun, and it definitely helps me. I think as well for many of you, you might even decide to take some classes. Me, I speak Spanish and French very, very fluently. Como si hablo español, o sea, es muy fácil para mí. El español no es difícil, hablo español casi como mi inglés. Claro, hay unas palabras que no sé, hay cosas que no sé en español, hay cosas que todavía tengo que aprender y ya, esto es obvio, like that's obvious, but quand je parle en français, quand je parle en espagnol, ou en anglais, quoi. Anglais, français, espagnol. Je parle ces 3 langues très, 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 très couramment. Français, ça fait déjà 23, attends. Disons que j'avais 5 ans quand j'ai commencé à apprendre le français. Donc, vous voyez, like, it's a very, like, I speak all 3 of those very fluently. And yet, over the summer, I chose to take some classes for those languages because I kind of felt that I was losing my edge. I was still very fluent, but I wasn't nearly as fluent as I would have liked to have been. And so I decided to take some classes over the summer. So that's a great way to maintain multiple languages. That's a very effective thing that you can do for sure. All of these are very, very effective strategies. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is figuring out for yourself what kind of strategy or strategies are going to be the most effective for you. You know, what kinds of things are realistic for you? What kinds of things interest you? What kinds of things can you do to incorporate the various languages that you speak into your day-to-day life? And that's going to help you tremendously to maintain the language or languages that you already have a certain level of fluency in. I think it's important to realize if you speak multiple languages, you know, English and French and Japanese and this and that, Arabic, if you speak a variety of different languages, you are going to slip in some of the languages at all points in time. At all points in time, your fluency in every language, you know, might start to decrease little by little. Like I speak 5 languages, and I notice sometimes that, you know, 3 months ago, I definitely felt stronger in French than I do today. Or I felt last year my Mandarin was better than it was today. Or I definitely go through those moments. And that's just normal. You have a lot of things that are happening in your life, both within language learning and outside of language learning. And it is very difficult, maybe even impossible, to always, at all points in time, to be maintaining your languages at 100% fluency or at 100% of the level that you have in that language. Things do slip and things do fall, and that's okay. You can always pick it back up again. And so understand that you probably are going to notice at certain points of time that certain languages are slipping and you're getting worse in certain languages, or you're forgetting a little bit. You're not as good as it used to be. That is perfectly normal. And I don't know if there's much you can really do about that. It's just an inevitable factor of speaking a variety of different languages. And the more languages you speak, the more likely that will happen. The more likely that'll happen. So I think that's some of the main things I'd like to say on that topic. Why don't we go into questions now? I've seen some questions pop up on a few places. Why don't we start on Instagram? Let me see what we have here. Okay. So we have a question from Hackinson96. Hello, Azren. Do you know how we can find people who are learning German and want to practice it with other speakers? I've been using some language apps, but can't really find people who want to practice it seriously. Absolutely. So 2 things. First of all, everybody who's watching this, looks like there's about 53, 60-ish people watching this live, about 60 or so people watching it live, give or take, across different platforms. So if there's someone among the 60-ish of you who would like to find someone to practice German with, and you are very serious about it, please go and message Hackinson96 on Instagram. His profile is spelled HAKANSEN 96. So maybe Hackinson, you'll find someone who messages you there, and they'll want to practice German with you in a serious fashion. The second thing I can recommend is every single Saturday from 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock in the morning, so Calgary time. So just to give you context, if you're watching this now, Hackinson 96, it's 12:26 p.m., so 2.5 hours before whatever time it is for you right now. Every single Saturday, I have a German teacher who works for me, and he runs a free German class, and it's heavily conversation oriented. There's certain things that are maybe grammar or vocab, things like that, but it's a very heavily conversation-oriented class. So that is something that I think can really help you as well. If you would like to learn more about that, if you'd like to sign up for that, you can either just send me a message and I'll send you the link to sign up, or you can just visit azrenthelanguagenerd.com actually, azrenthelanguagenerd.com. What is the German website? I believe it's azrenthelanguagenerd.com/German. I believe that's what it is. azrenthelanguagenerd.com/German. I believe that's the URL. If not, just message me and I can send you the link. So that can really help you. And the last thing I think that can really help you right now, Hackinson 96, and actually really everybody, is something that I actually do within my own business as well. For all new students, I have a bit of a promotion or a deal right now where you can get 2 hours of free private lessons for anybody who's interested. So if you'd like to get 2 hours of free German lessons, Hackinson 96, send me a message. I can hook you up with my German teacher and you can go take at least a couple of hours of class and get some conversation practice that way. I think a mixture of all of those, Hackinson 96, that can really help you. That can really help you. The other thing you may want to try is if you download an app such as HelloTalk, download that app, you'll find thousands of people that speak German and that want to practice. I guarantee, I bet my life that if you were to go and you were to talk to some of those people, you will find someone who seriously wants to practice German with you. The biggest challenge people have with language learning apps such as HelloTalk is they fail in the numbers game. You have to understand that you're going to have to talk to a lot of people before you find someone that you're compatible with, that wants to practice with you regularly, that you like, that you get along with. That's the biggest mistake I see people make. Or they don't know what to talk about. Like it's very, you're gonna have to put in a lot of effort in order to find that right person or those people that want to practice with you. It takes a lot of time and effort, and it's really not easy. It's really difficult. But if you dedicate 50 hours to figuring that out over the next couple of months, you will find some people that you get along with that are dedicated, that'll want to practice with you regularly. Those are a few strategies that I think can help you. Let's look at other questions. I'm going to look at Instagram to start here. Other questions. So no other questions on Instagram. Why don't we hop over here to Facebook. Facebook. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Hello. So this is from Esteban Felix. So hello, this is not a question about the main topic, but have you ever worked as a translator or interpreter? I've done a little bit of translation or interpreting work. I have done some. It's not my primary source of income or the primary thing that I do, but it's something that I've done before. It's quite challenging, I will say. It is quite challenging, but yes, I have done it before. Another question from Esteban Felix. I started French at school. Do you have any recommendations for a beginner to practice? Yes, absolutely. So I would recommend, first of all, that you follow along everything that you're doing in class at your school. That's the number one thing. It's kind of like when people say, I want to get in shape, and someone's like, you should eat well and exercise. And then they go, okay, that makes sense. But what else should I do? Well, often it's like, well, no, you just got to eat well and exercise. That's like the main stuff. Of course, there's other things you could throw in, but the main most important things to do are you have to eat well and exercise. Well, for this question here, you started learning French at school. What are some recommendations for a pure beginner to practice? Well, do your schoolwork and go to class. That is the main thing I would probably recommend to you. Now, additional things you can do that I think can help you too is I would recommend you find opportunities to do some conversation practice with people outside of your class, whether it's online. That will be really helpful for you, especially because I'm generalizing, but often in language classes, there's a lack of speaking and conversation and real interaction with native speakers or even any speaker of the language often you're sitting in your desk in the class, the teacher talks, you write notes, maybe you do some role plays in a textbook, but you're not getting real interaction time with other speakers. So if you can find a way to do that outside of class, I think that will really help you. A few places to look would be Hello Talk, the application I mentioned earlier. Or another place you may want to try is even actually myself. We run some free classes on Saturdays at 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock for French. So that's literally whatever time it is for you right now in your country, take half an hour away from that. That's 12 o'clock until 2 o'clock. So that's Mountain Standard Time. That's the name of our time zone. So if you Google, 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and then you say in my city and you search your city name, like you'll find some stuff there that'll be helpful for you as well. I would also try. I'm a big fan of input that is at your level. So listening and reading that is at your level. If you can find things online that are at your level for you to listen and read, I think that'll be useful for you. Those are a few tips that I can give you. And I'll give you this piece as well. So everybody watching this, as you know, I offer myself and my business. We offer 2 hours of free private classes for anyone who's interested. So if you did want to use that for French, by all means, you're welcome to book some time with me, and I'm more than happy to help you for a couple of hours to practice with you and such. That's also something you can take advantage of. Okay. Let me see here. Other questions on Facebook. Yes, I see some questions here on Facebook. So let's see. This one looks slightly spammy, but there is a question here. We want to know your story with languages, but also your commitment to keep learning languages in order to improve human understanding. And then he's trying to promote some association. We want to know your story with languages, but also your commitment to keep learning languages. Well, I do it because I like it. It's fun for me. I enjoy it. That's kind of where my commitment to keep learning comes from. In terms of my story, it's a pretty long story, but I've grown up with languages. I grew up with Gujarati in the house, French at school, English with friends. In high school, I started to take some Spanish classes. When I was in university, most of my days were actually in French and Spanish. They're equally in English as they were French and Spanish, because I was doing a French and Spanish degree. And a lot of my classmates, especially for Spanish, were native Spanish speakers. So throughout the day, I would speak 3 to 4 hours I would be surrounded with French and Spanish for 3 to 4 hours for each language. So call it 6 hours a day would be in French and Spanish every day, Monday to Friday. Then I'd come home, and of course, with English and things like that. But then I'd do my homework. I'd write French essays and Spanish essays and read my homework and listen to things we're supposed to listen to. So there's another hour or two in French or Spanish. So I was really immersed in French and Spanish quite a bit when I was in university. And that helped a lot for the learning process, I think. I'm also a big traveler. I like to travel for language learning purposes. So I've been to Peru, Chile, France. I spent some time in India, China, Taiwan, very short stint in Spain. The primary places I have been for language learning purposes were Beijing for 3 months, Taipei for about 2 months. That was for Mandarin, those two places. I was in France. I spent about 5-6 months in France, something like that, of my life, studying and traveling. I've done some university classes in France. I did some high school in France. I was in Peru for 2 months, volunteering and traveling. So volunteering in a school, living with the Peruvian family. Chile, I was there for a month, living with a Chilean family. I have a friend who lives there, so I lived with his family for a month. We did some touring, lived with them, hung out. That was pretty touristy, but still a very intensive Spanish experience where there was not much English being used. And then India for 2 months. Which was basically everything was Gujarati. It was 100% Gujarati focus. So I like to do that. So there's hopefully that answers the question there. I'm gonna delete this here. There we go. Do you offer online courses? Yes, I do offer online courses. So visit azrenthelanguagenerd.com, probably the easiest place to find info on online classes. Robert, I'd love to join. Robert says, I'd love to join the online German class. By all means, you're welcome to do so. And maybe I'll just comment. I'll just reply to the comment and put the link. azrenlanguagenerd.com/drop-in-German. There we go. So I just replied to the comment there. So Robert, there you go. There's the link for that. I just joined 5 minutes ago, but you were talking about polyglot learning, and I think for one-year language, there are many factors that come into play when wanting to achieve perfect fluency. One of them is being the age of acquisition. Another being proximity to the target language, to your native language. What is your opinion on this? Sure, I think so. I think adults can achieve quote unquote perfect fluency in a second language. And it's how do I say this? It's hard to achieve perfect fluency in a language as an adult for very different reasons than for a child. For an adult, it's difficult more for lifestyle. More for lifestyle purposes. That's where it gets difficult. You work full time. You might have kids. You already have your day-to-day routines. You might be stuck in the way you think. There's a lot of different disadvantages you have, but then you have a lot of advantages too. As an adult, you're better at learning things. You know how you learn. You know yourself more. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it can be done as an adult too, but it's challenging for different reasons. I think kids, we often default into thinking about kids who move to another country. So they go to school in that language. So of course they achieve that near perfect fluency per se. So yeah, there's a couple thoughts I have on that topic. Let me see here. Proximity of the target language to your native language. Sure, that's a factor for sure. That definitely will affect things for sure. I think so. All right, let me see. So I think that clears out Facebook. Let me have one last peek at Facebook to see if I missed something. Sites or apps like SpeechLang, Closemaster, Quizzic French, ReadLang. Yeah, I haven't used all of them, but I've used a few of those, and yeah, I like them. They're good. I like them for a teaching resource. Okay, let's go over to YouTube, and then we'll wrap this up. So YouTube. Oh, so wow, quite a few comments here on YouTube. I find that I hit a lag when speaking a language I haven't spoken in a while, and that I constantly end up having to pause far more often to find the words I need. For sure. Happens all the time. If you don't practice it, you will start to lose it. So the only way to kind of reduce that lag time is to continuously find ways to use it. It's like if you used to be able to run, whatever, you could run 3 kilometers in 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and you're like, you can do it. And then you didn't run for 10 years. When you go back to running, it's not going to take you 10 minutes to run that 3 kilometers anymore. It's going to take you half an hour because you're not as fit anymore. That lag time is increased. The time to do so is increased. You're out of practice. So for sure, makes sense. Do you have any advice on how to avoid interference between languages that are quite similar? Yeah, the only thing I've seen that works, at least for myself, because I've experienced it quite a bit, the only thing I've seen that works is continuous practice for not mixing them up. It's the only thing I've seen work. Here's my story with that. And as I said before, I was doing a French and Spanish major in university. So I would do three hours of French, 3 hours of Spanish every day. It would be really common for me to go French class, 10 to 11, Spanish class, 11 to 12, French class, 12 to 1. Like, it'd be super common. Then do French homework, switch to Spanish, then go to English, then go to I was switching, it was so difficult sometimes. I'd really get mixed up. My brain would get mixed up for sure. It happens, and the only way I got better with it, and now switching French, Spanish, English is not that difficult for me anymore, is because I've just done it so much. I've switched so much between those 3 that I can do it. But if I switch Mandarin to French, I struggle. Gujarati to Mandarin, my brain gets confused. I haven't gotten used to that yet. Just practice. It's the only way that I've seen. Time to learn Russian. Yep. Merman from Russia. Totally. Yeah. I'm gonna do some moderation here on comments. Do some moderation. There we go. Moderate some of these. All right, so let's wrap this up here. I got a call that starts in 18 minutes. I'd love it if you left some comments. Hit the like button if you like this video on YouTube, obviously Facebook. Share around with friends if they found it useful for you. If you liked it, I'll see you guys next week, same time, same place, and yeah, have a good day. See you, everyone. Bye bye. See you. Let me end all these live streams here. So many live streams going. Okay, YouTube, let's end you.